special guest today. He's Graham Lawrence, who was a former Winthrop Cortina Center for Royal College back in 1982 and 83. And we have brought him to analyze the Royal versus St. Peter's game, which was in fact the second oldest schools encounter in Sri Lanka. Played at Reed Avenue last Saturday in front of a packed house. Graham, good evening. How are you doing today?
Good evening, Hamza. I'm doing good. Thank you so much for inviting me on your show.
Okay, good to have you. And I know that you have been analyzing quite a few games for Royal. And in fact, I saw last week that you did I would say, a crisp analysis on the Pete Wright 15 as well. Tell me, let's get straight to the point. What did St. Peter's do right to run 4 tries in the first half?
Yes, quite a bit. So let's go from the beginning, Hamza, if you don't mind. Yeah, we'll take it try by try, if you don't mind.
Of course.
And we'll see. So in my preview, which I wrote about 1 to 15 players of St. Peter's, I made certain predictions about their strengths and what they would do. So, in fact, I made a few predictions about center. I said Emit Jayavira might start, and he did. And I also said that Praneeth Silva, who is a super sub, is what I called him. I felt that he could start in any other school squad at either 9 or 14. And yeah, he was starting at 14. So I don't know whether Mr. Sanath Martis was reading my previews, but certainly those 2 things came true. But anyway, yeah, so Royal start was decent. Royal came up with a penalty and there was 3-0 on the board, but soon after Vishenka gave away a yellow card and your St. Peter's was down to 14 and Royal was 15. Royal should have capitalized on that one-man advantage, but it didn't happen. Actually, the entire 10 minutes of 14 players was actually scoreless. But actually, St. Peter scored the first try. So coming to your question, the first try was scored by St. Peter's in that 10-minute period. So, as I said, Praneeth Silva is, a master sniper. He's a guy who basically has an amazing step, jinks his way, and basically it was also, I must not forget to point out that Raul's 50-22 is, I think, the spark to pave the way for Praneeth's try, and he was a master sniper in finishing it. So that was the excellent first try. Would you like to add anything to that?
See, I think Rahul sneaked through once to create that first try, if I remember. And I don't think the Royal defense would have ever thought that Rahul would sneak through, because everyone would have thought, drifting the defense to number 12, 13, and 14, because that's where your runners are. And yes, Praneeth is, like you said, a good weapon, a second half impact man, playing as a scrum half, played as a scrum half before last year as well. And he came as a Winthrop quarter. No one even would have ever thought that Royal are backpedaling, facing their backs, not even backpedaling, And Praneeth, like you said, took a quick tap, stepped in 1, 2, 3, and he dived to the try line, from the 10-meter. So that was the start. And like you said, tell me.
I'll just add to that. Yes. So excellent to top off the 50-22. Rahul made an excellent line break there. It's a good point you brought up. But still, Praneeth, he's like the 6th man in an NBA championship side. He was, as I said, super sub, and amazing decision, because sometimes coaches bring their 6th man to start a game. And so that's exactly what St. Peter's did in starting. So hats off to him. It was a super try. So that was the first one.
Yeah.
And then Vishenka came back on just as the try was scored.
Yes.
So St. Peter's was back to 15 on 15. And then, of course, Royal had a sort of bad patch there, where Royal ended up with like 5 consecutive penalties, if I'm not mistaken. And then the prop forward was yellow carded. I think the multiple penalties finally, and that's fair enough. So I think St. Peter's really put the foot on the accelerator, because it was in those 10 minutes that the real mayhem occurred. If you go one by one, the second try, basically I feel it was a poor box kick from the starting scrum half.
Yeah.
And a little point there, Hamza, since we are discussing these things, the starting scrum half was not the guy who had been starting the whole season. He was a person who was coming off the bench. He played last year also. And strangely, for this St. Peter's game, the halves combination of Simak Shafiq and Captain Tiven Pereira was what we saw mostly in second halves in the first few games that Royal played.
Yeah.
That was the starting combination.
Correct.
So basically, I felt that was not a well-judged box directly to one of your stars, Pasindu Bandara. And he was brought down. Two scrummers helped him. Salit Gadage was, I think, the first receiver. And then he passed it out to Praneeth, who is your other scrummer.
Yeah.
And those two guys sent out two wide passes to Unithihara. Unith is a devastating player, as I've always said.
Yeah.
And so basically, the first poor kick resulting in an excellent try. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, actually, very correctly said. I think Pasindu, I always judge the fullback as either you're a running fullback or a kicking fullback. And Pasindu on an open space, that kick would have come into him like a platter, and then he loves to run. And he got, not him, Vishenka got tackled. And like you said, Salit Galage saw that out wide, outnumbered by Royal defense. And he saw again, the link man was running the try scorer, Praneeth. And then he saw, Praneeth definitely saw Vishenka, not Vishenka, actually, Umechihara. But Umechihara is much more built man. And I know that, he would go and score one-on-one there. And probably, like I said, even the third try, I'm sure you would have seen, there was a turnover, and then the prop forward straight away, he saw Vishenka on the outside.
Hang on. That's the fourth. That's the fourth try. So we need to go back to the third try. Yeah. Third try also came from a poor chip kick. It was a chip kick where it fell into the waiting arms of Pasindu Bandara.
Yes.
Now, this guy is bedazzling us. That's the only word I can use. Yeah. His try was like butter, pure, smooth, beautiful, and at times hard.
Yeah.
True. And all season, I wrote it to you also, even in the Thurston game.
Yeah.
In the very second of the game, very minute, he sliced butter, like a knife through butter. And so he did it all over again. He's in a different class. He's got a force field around him. So that was an excellent try by Pasindu. So that was the third. And again, so second and third, in my opinion, both poor kicks.
Correct.
Shall we go on to the fourth? I think you about the fourth.
Of course, right. You can go to the fourth.
Came from a knock-on.
Go on.
So the fourth, Hamza, the beauty of the fourth was seeing Ranidu Ridmal send out the pass. To see a giant prop like that being at the right point at the right time to collect that loose ball and then send it out to Vishenka. And then he just, he's, as I said in my preview, too big, too strong, too fast.
Yeah.
So he was he couldn't be brought down. People tried ankle tackles and various things, but it was an amazing try. And so that was the fourth. Basically, in the 10 minutes that the yellow card was against Royal, St. Peter's had scored 19 points.
Correct.
So I think that was where massive, dagger was pierced through Royal's heart.
And also, Graham, I don't know if you remember, there was a Shernal Silva back in 2019 in the St. Peter's team. Played as a winger. He's a brother of Vishenka Silva. Had a similar step of
Right.
zigzag running, inside out, dazzling the defense. I know that Vishenka can play for one more year, and
Okay,
you
that's
can
great.
see, you can see more of him because someone is not the biggest in the field, but probably the power and the speed and how he accelerates himself, from a static position to a, dynamic position so fast. Let me ask you the next question. What really went wrong for Royal in the first half? Like you said, you explained very briefly. And
Yeah.
we know what would have been their thoughts when they were 28 points down, even at 54 minutes before they scored the first try, brilliantly after about 11 or 12 minutes. What do you think that Royal did bad to be on a 31-3 points on the scoreboard, which probably most of the Royalists would have not seen for a long time at Complex, at your home grounds? What do you think would have gone wrong?
Yes, obviously, as I said before, I felt it's the two poor kicks that produced two, and then of course a knock-on produced the fourth. The first was just probably difficult to defend. We put it that way, but the other three were probably turnovers from our own mistakes, right? And we had to stop the bleeding somewhere, right?
Correct.
So you were also thinking what would be the message, and at halftime. So obviously the first message would have been stop this aimless kicking. I mean, kicking is very much part and parcel of our modern game. Judicious, prudent kicking, but not aimless kicking, right? So we started the game, as I told you previously, with a different halves combination. At halftime, there was a change.
Yes.
Right? The half combination was changed. This boy called Savista Fernando, who had been starting a majority of the games, was brought on to scrum half, and Idris Farooq was brought on at 10. And actually, it was an interesting change because that made the captain move to outside center.
Yeah.
Right. And the wingers, one was taken off completely.
Yes.
And a new winger was brought on.
Yeah.
So those changes, I think, were necessary and also were made to probably correct those errors and mistakes that occurred in the first half.
Correct.
So basically, I think it was going to be keep the ball in hand, no high unnecessary kicks. And, basically the message would have been live life like a weeble. Now, if you know what a weeble is, they wobble, but don't fall down.
Yeah.
You get jostled, and you start to fall, but you always get back up and give it your all, right?
Yeah. Let me stop you there, Graham. I want to ask you. You're talking about Idris Farooq, right?
Yes.
I think that boy had a good game even in the last 20 minutes because I think he was feeding the ball whenever it was necessary. He was trying to sell a dummy and go through. I mean, he did a lot of work.
Several breaks.
Exactly. I think he actually did his 100%, even though the chips are down in the Royal camp. And there was another player that I noticed, your number 5, Buenka Senanayaka, or Bua, whom you have introduced. I mean, I think he did his job. His job was to get the lineouts, Loose play was excellent. I think he had almost 95% accuracy in his jumping, right? One or two times, I think.
It was actually...
Yeah.
No, only once I think there was an overthrow, but other 12 throws.
Yeah.
Of course, you all didn't contest the second half throws.
Correct.
Right. I think what happened was Sandin Kularatne was injured.
Yes.
And I think he's your main stealer, if I may call him that.
Yeah.
And I think also with Royals' height supremacy through Boneka, I think St. Peter's made a conscious decision to stop contesting in the air, and rather they were contesting the maul. I think that was a good strategy. Yeah. So go ahead with that. Sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, what I was trying to tell you was, you said the message would have been from the Royal camp, from Coach Luke, keep the ball in hand, don't kick it unnecessary. But if you notice, I mean, there were times that when Royal was awarded a penalty, they took quick taps. I mean,
Yes.
even for me, looking at the game live, I was wondering, why does Royal wants to play for the same rhythm as the Pete Wrights? You know, I know that Royal is predominantly a forwards-driven team for the last so many years. I mean, not that you all didn't have good backs. Of course, you had few good backs in the past. But you know, why did you play for the beat of the opposition camp? You know, why are you taking quick taps? Why are you running the ball on the corners? Why couldn't you keep the ball with you? Probably, I know that St. Peter's countered the rolling maul or the royal maul brilliantly, and you know they couldn't succeed it more than 10 to 12 meters, even from the halfway mark. Probably that's the reason they decided to run wide and you know take quick taps. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so yes and no to your question. Yes, as in the rolling maul was being defended well. It was not progressing as one would have liked to have seen it. And also, you don't always have a rolling maul. You have a rolling maul when you're within the red zone, right? So maybe certain kicks, certain penalties were not, going to reach that goal where your kick won't reach touch and give you that. But at the same time, the second side of that question and the second side to it is that, say, Royal did this very successfully against St. Joseph's also last week, where in the second half, of course, that was mainly due to the fact that we lost the other vice captain, Jahan Veerasurya, through a red card, which everyone knows. And Bhuvaneka was injured in that game, so Royal didn't have either one of their two twin towers. That could have been the reason, but also Royal uses its fitness and ability in second halves. Usually the ball is run a bit more. So it's a two-part answer, as I said. You want to keep it going, you think you have the pace out wide. And I think it was partly proven also with the 3 late tries, because as you know, the 3 tries were all scored by backs, none by forwards. And I think you and I had previously discussed how Royal scores many tries through the forwards, but I also pointed out to you that 1/3 of the tries up to the Pete Wright game were in fact scored by the backs. So we don't have the best talent at our disposal, but I think the proof has been there in the ability to score tries. So might have been plus or minus good or bad decision, but at the end of the day, the 3 tries came through.
Okay, you were talking about the backs. Okay, I'm going to give you, I mean, I felt that the best playmaker of the backs were Pathirana, and lot was expected from Nabil Yahya. I know Pathirana ran 2 tries at the end. I mean, he was brilliant when the ball in hand. Even though he did a nasty mistake by kicking that's in the second half, kicking a loose ball aimlessly and it landed.
That's not Nabil, right?
No, that was Pathirana.
That needs to be pointed out. Yes, that was
Pathirana. And then it landed to Pranit Silla, and Pranit Silla ran it wide, and there was a loose 180-degree tackle there. I mean, do you honestly think that Pathirana and Yahya did they perform into their true potential? Or, I mean, for me, I know Nabil Yahya is a brilliant player. I mean, I saw him at the Wesley game. Brilliant kicker. I mean, good accuracy in his place kicking, even though he didn't have much chances in your game. Pathirana, I mean, of course, probably he didn't get much ball though. I know that Royal ran a few lines with some decoy moves and all that. Do you think that Pathirana and Yahya would have not up to their 100% on that game? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So first up, Hamza, we need to clear the air. There are 2 Pathirana boys in the Royal side.
I'm talking about the number 15.
I think that's right. He's Yuan Pathirana. So if you can, so for clarity, we'll call him Yuan.
Okay.
And the other guy whom you also very rightly pointed out is Disas Pathirana, who played at center. So to talk about Nabil, I think Nabil gave almost everything to the game. He started at center. Actually, if you look at the stats, he was on the bench in the first game of the season.
Yeah.
Then came on the wing, moved to center, fullback, and back again to center.
Yes.
But this game, yes, he started at center.
Yeah.
He took over even the touch kicking duties after Tiven made one error in not kicking to touch on a penalty.
Yeah.
And I don't think he didn't kick away possession unnecessarily. I think he picked up on the fact that the ball needs to be retained.
Yeah.
And I saw him running at many opportunities. He was at first receiver at sometimes at scrum half.
Yeah.
And even his place kicking, he did a decent job with 3 out of 4.
Yes.
And in fact, I don't know whether you realize, but in one of the conversions, there was a delay in the tee coming onto the field. And he was under serious 90-second pressure to convert.
Yeah.
But that too, he made it. So I think his involvement and his kicking efficiency, I feel that he gave close to 90-95% in that game. I really can't find much fault in his involvement.
Yeah.
So I think that confusion about some people thinking that he was the fullback, so we should eliminate that confusion.
Yeah.
He was at center, but Now Pathirana, in fact, in the past, I have called him a rugby gazelle because he's got a real stride and run about him, as he proved that this is Yuan Pathirana that I'm talking about.
Yes.
He's really good, especially when the opposition is tiring and, he can cut through well. He scored 2 good tries.
Yeah.
But I think a bit more steel, a bit more heart, a bit more passion, has to be seen from his side. Could have done better, in short.
Definitely. I mean, you were talking about the tiredness, I think you were talking about the tiredness. I think Coach Martis did not use much fresh legs in the last quarter, I would say. And I think you could see that on the replay, though we could see that much on the game live at the complex. I mean, when I saw the replay, I saw Pranit Silla really, really finding hard to catch UN on the side because he ran out of breath. I think the boys gave 100%, both sides, Definitely Royal capitalized on the last 5 minutes, scoring 2 back-to-back tries. I think for me, the first try was a typical brilliance, 11 to 12 faces, you hit, you ran wide, you hit, and then you got the opportunity to score on the left flank. Second try came similar fashion to our first try, quick tap. Our guys are too tired, going back. St. Peter's are, backpedaling, and then your center dive through. The third try, again, a loose box kick, didn't clear, center field, broken play. I think UN Pathirana would have said, just like Pasindu, thank you very much. This is what I wanted. I mean, I would have been happy if I got this early. Tell me, Graham, just few things. We are coming to the final week of the first round. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sure.
Before you go there, Hamza, can I just add a little value to your statements?
Sure.
Agree with all of them, actually.
Sure.
So Pranit probably was feeling the heat in a 70-minute game because previously he had been playing short minutes, right?
Correct.
And except for, I think, one game where he started, but no excuse again, right? Still, you got to get your man.
Yeah.
And I'd like to highlight this try that the other Pathirana boy, that is Disas Pathirana.
Yes.
So you rightly called him a center. Yes, he started the game at center, but when that change in the second half took place and the second row was taken off, this boy Disas had to actually pack the scrum on the flank. So he was like, a mosquito in a mannequin store. He was like jumping from place to place.
Yeah.
And he was the one who took that quick tap and ran over for that try. If at all one is looking for unsung heroes, that's the guy who took that title. Because the obvious heroes, as you correctly pointed out, were Bhuvaneka Sennaika.
Yeah.
And I would also say that Nakib Mohammed, our hooker, he got 12 of the 13 throws on point.
Yeah.
Plus, his ball carrying and attacking play, defensive play. So those two were like the clear-cut, stars of the game. But Disas, just to go back to him, was the unsung hero.
Yeah.
So sorry that I interrupted you. Let's now continue from there.
Yeah. So my last question to you: we are coming into the final week of the first round of the 2024.
Yes.
Yeah. Your predictions of the final round. St. Thomas's versus Isipatanan. Sorry, I'm not going to hold any bets though.
No, yeah, I know. I hate that this is live too because, I'm really not good at predictions. People for years, I started reviewing Royal Rugby in 2018. Ever since then, people have been asking me, take the bull by the horn, say what score is going to come. And I usually don't do that. I enjoy reviewing, but I don't always make predictions because, we play in games where underdogs even can win, right?
Can perform,
sport is such, okay, anyway, your first game is Isipatana versus St. Thomas's, you said?
Yeah, at Havelock Park on Sunday.
Yeah, so I think Patana is the favorite there.
Okay, then Vidyartha is hosting St. Peter's at Nithawela on Sunday again.
Yeah, I went up to Kandy to watch the Royal Vidyartha game, and in really muddy conditions, Vidyartha were pretty good.
Yeah.
But I think Vidyartha, some people felt that Vidyartha are the only team who would give St. Peter's some sort of a challenge.
Yeah.
But I still feel there'll be, okay, I think St. Peter's by about 15 there.
Okay. And your game?
Yeah, so unfortunately, Thurston is probably the weakest team in the group, and they've got a lot of points put on them. Royal will be smarting from a loss.
Definitely.
So I don't think there'll be any let up. So I think Royal should win that game.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Graham. It's been a pleasure, actually. I wish we had more time to analyze the game in detail, but I think we analyzed most of the key points of the game, the turning points, the mistakes from both camps, and, who were the unsung heroes, like you correctly said, from Royal camp especially. Good to have you back again. I mean, good to see you back after a long time. I know that, we both left to the grounds at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That was pretty
yes.
I mean, I think the biggest crowd that I saw at Royal Complex after Bradby, this would have been probably the biggest. And then it's nice to see the ground being so packed, and the atmosphere was very electric, the cheering from both sides, everything was well organized. And I'm sure we can see more thrilling games in the second round with most likely Sipatana coming from the other group, and I think Royal and St. Peter's would probably top this group. I'm not sure who will be the second from the other group.
Second.
Open, So we can look forward for another 2 thrilling encounters in the second round, and let's chat again. Like I said, thank you very much.
One last thing before we leave, I must say that I should commend the Royalists for the discipline that they showed throughout the game.
Yeah.
They were fairly calm. There was a lot of, trash talking, a lot of probing and pressing that was done on them. But I think one of the messages that were given to them was don't retaliate.
Yeah.
And I think they showed that in that. There was an unfortunate after-match video which probably didn't portray the full picture, but we'll not talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I always say, boys, these are teenagers, and I heard that they sat in a dinner after the game, and everyone was hugged each other. I mean, that's the end. There is no point of social media, post after that, because I mean, I know that both teams, it's a second longest schools encounter in Sri Lanka. And I think the traditions go back to 1932, I think where St. Peter started the encounter, and a trophy is introduced for the same reason. And I think Royal, St. Peter's encounters have been, I think we have created a lot of history, especially in 2010, when there was a court case to cancel the finals, and Royal came up, their management came up, okay, fine, let's play a friendly, we are willing to share the trophy. I mean, those things go along with, these are boys, teenagers, they're learning, they're young, emotions are high, tight game, traditional battle, a trophy game, those things are normal. So, just leave it as it is. Like you said, they both enjoyed the game, and they had a nice royal host at St. Peter's for a nice dinner, and then that's the end of the story. Once again, thank you very much, Graham, for your time. It's been a pleasure to have you on my second Sinbin show.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to talk to you. Part Peterite, part Prolist, talking to a Peterite.
Yeah,
Good fun.
Likewise. Thank you very much, Graham. Have a good day, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much.
Okay, take care, buddy.
Thank you.